Hi, this is Sherry Veronica. This Tulsa race massacre, it was a riot, it was white supremacy. It was a era where black people were on the rise. They understood what the stock market was all about. Stock started with slaves, the stock market, and they turned it around. They made other things stock. They took themselves out of the stock market. Now, you're not going to read what I just said here on these pages. It was kept secret for a long time. All of this was kept a secret, how they burned the neighborhood down because black people were on the rise. Black people were on the rise. They recognized what happened to them and they were turning things around. And the rioters worked with law enforcement. They worked with law enforcement and they killed a whole bunch of black people. Now, even reading this, what I heard when I sat in the seats of, when you go to like seminars and when you're sitting next to someone who's kind of radically thinking, bent, in colleges or in a university or on a campus, you hear these things spoken of in those places. It wasn't spoken of in the street. These things were spread through classes and through the corridors of higher learning places. And when you hear about it and you read this, it's not the same. It's not the same. Now, this is one survivor. She survived in the 1921 burning, or the Black Wall Street. That's what it was called, the Black Wall Street, because Wall Street is a stock market industry. And what happened, like I said, was black upcoming thinking people turned it around. They took themselves, they took themselves off of the stock market and they planned how they had families, they planned their businesses, they planned how they were going to construct their neighborhoods, what they were going to do, who they were going to do it to, who they were going to work for. It was organized, and the sheriff and the law enforcement and white supremacists, they burned it down. Now, there was like 26 people died and 10 people, no, hundreds of black people, hundreds of homes were destroyed. And it seems as though they kind of came to their senses. You see here, the massacre was largely omitted from the local, state, and national histories for years. They hid it. Just like how they cannot put everything in the history books as to what happened in the Middle Passage, in the islands, in the New World. They cannot put those things in the history books. It has to be hidden. Now, these people came together and there was some kind of reparations. They thought about it. And now that history has to be taught in schools. Okay? It has to be taught in schools. It's important for people to know what happens when they think that you're not staying in your lane, when they think that you're uppity. That's a word that when you hear used, it depends on who you hear use it. It means something. When a certain person can use that word uppity, oh, you're acting kind of uppity. That is a racist word. Okay, but you have to know what I'm talking about. You have to know who's saying it. And then there was this bombing. Did you know about this bombing? They bombed a whole neighborhood because black people were organizing. They're bombed, not like through little, little fire things or shot into that. They bombed a neighborhood, and then the fire department, they were not told to extinguish the fire. They were said, well, make sure it doesn't go here, make sure contain it. They were made to contain the fire, make sure it doesn't go to the white person's establishment. But if it goes there, oh, that's owned by black, let's let that burn down. You do not seem to understand what has happened to black free people in the United States. To it leaves a taste. It leaves a mark. You are aware of where you are, and when someone living in the United States, when they, let's say they have family in the islands, when they return from the United States to the islands, you see it because you guys have not struggled. You guys didn't do what the black slaves freed have done here in America. And it's like going back in time, going back to the islands. It's like going back in time because you have not been bombed. You have not been burnt out. You have not risen to the level where the people who run that particular New World area, they're not afraid. You have not ruffled their feathers. They're not afraid, okay? So you have gone by pretty good because some people will say you sat comfortably in it. You sat comfortably in slavery. That's what some people will say. But like I said, this particular part of history was hidden, but you did hear about it. It wasn't being taught, but you did hear about it. Now it's in schools. Now it's all over the place. It's all over the place now. But that was something whispered back in the day, and she is a survivor. Viola Ford Fletcher, is the oldest living survivor of the 1921 burning of Black Wall Street. Okay, she's one of two survivors. She survived it. Hopefully they would have her on campuses, in the auditoriums. That's the word I was looking for. When you go into the auditorium and they have guest speakers, someone like her will come on and talk about what they have experienced, the information, and it has a lasting effect on your brain. You understand when it comes from someone who has experienced it. You understand the culture, the nature of people, okay? Your eyes are opened, okay? So yeah, I thought I should bring this one to you. Has nothing to do with Barbados per se, but yet everything has to do with Barbados because you've been through the same thing. You've been through the same thing. It's just that you've handled it differently, and with the way you have handled it, you have stayed. It's like when they talk about arrested development. Have you ever heard that say? Arrested development. It's like anyone who have left Barbados and migrated and lived in a big country, if they decide to pack up from that big country after 30, 40 years, if they decide, okay, I'm going to go back home to rest my bones and to be buried there, they will have regrets. They will have regrets because they will see and understand that they have moved back in time. They have not gone forward. You move back in time, okay? It will be hard for you to understand because you're in it and you think that, you have everything going on, but it's a moving back in time for a lot of people who decide to repatriate, become, like what do you call them, returning nationals. It's a big jump. It's a big move. And so most of the time it's a mistake, but you can't pull up and come back. You can't leave when you've sold everything and cashed out all your whatever, and you've gone back home. How do you leave there and send everything? It's a headache, and usually you're just stuck. You're just trapped. It's a trap, okay? Yeah, so that's it for this one. This is Sherry Veronica.
Help me spread the word about Naked Departure via social media. Subscribe and share to show support and love for our channels.